Greetings, YouTube. It's that time of the month where we take the top questions from Reddit, the Overwatch University subreddit, and answer them for you. This is Overwatch 2 Support, February 2023 edition. Okay, first question, most upvoted question of the entire month is, how do you stop the two flying ladies who are attached from leaker account? This is probably Far Mercy. Please don't flame me. I, 39F, have taken a liking to the game after I discovered a friend's little brother's playing it on their computer. Oh, this is just kind of cute. There's an angel lady that can revive people. She's flying with the lady who shoots bombs from the sky. I find that when they're together, nobody's paying attention to the angel lady. This is a pretty adorable post from a new Overwatch 2 user. So what they're referring to is, of course, Far Mercy, Pharah plus Mercy combo, who have great natural synergy because they are both flying in the air. There's only two real flying heroes in the game, which are Echo and Pharah, and Mercy can fly as a byproduct by continually guarding and angeling to the Pharah. To answer this question honestly, from a tank's perspective, D.Va is probably one of the better tanks to deal with Pharah Mercy. You're not necessarily going to have enough burst damage to kill the Pharah Mercy. However, the defense matrix can eat up a lot of the boosted rockets from Pharah, and if she ever sinks a little too low from the sky looking for some interesting angles, you can fly into the Pharah or fly into the Mercy and actually damage them quite a bit with micro missiles. With a little bit of help from your teammates, you might be able to convert a kill. Generally speaking, it is better to prioritize Mercy over Pharah. If you kill the Pharah, she might get rezzed. But Mercy going down means Pharah's left out to dry. She has to fly away, go into cover, find health packs, or she'll also die. So you already create a lot more space by having the Mercy dead in that capacity. For the DPSs, the obvious answer is hit scans. Cassidy got a major buff this season, and his fall off range is a lot farther before the damage starts ramping down, which means if you find yourself in the open area, try to shoot her as best as you can. It's really hard to convert a solo kill. A lot of times Far Mercy requires a bit more of a team effort. If one person can deal with two people, that hero is a bit too OP because he's 1v2ing the whole time. These are two people in the sky. Going away from the hit scan answer, sometimes it is okay to ignore them, and when I say ignore, I don't mean fully ignore them, but if you're going to ignore the Far Mercy, you better be pressuring the other support on the enemy team, prioritizing the other DPS or the other tank who don't have Far Mercy playing near them. So you isolate them, go into them. You can also play indoors and out of Pharah's strengths or open sight lines. Those are all great options. And under the supports, same idea, hit scan supports, my favorite being Ana. Ana has no damage fall off, so you can actually 3-tap the Mercy in the sky. Pharah is harder to 3-tap because she's going to be pocketed with the healing. Generally now with Mercy being able to hold the healing beam on the Pharah, you know how Mercy can now heal because of her new passive when she heals the Pharah. That's a little ridiculous, which is another reason why you don't want to shoot the Pharah at the same time as shooting Mercy, especially if you're the only one shooting them, because if Pharah's a little low and then you change priorities to Mercy, Mercy's healing on the Pharah is going to heal her 25% of the HP and change that breakpoint where you can't 3-tap them anymore. In any case, I digress. Ana's a great answer. Baptiste to pressure them. Again, you don't have to necessarily kill them, just shoot them a little bit, make them play a little bit safer so she's not just dominating the open skies. And in worst case, play your own Mercy, play your own Pharah or Echo and match them in the sky. That's your answer. Next question. Will Kiriko forever be meta? Submitted by Angry Ape Monkey. She pretty much has it all. High healing output, mobility, utility, damage potential. Every team I see picks her or eventually swaps to her. I don't see any foreseeable changes to her. There's pretty much no reason to pick her since even just being a heal bot is viable. This isn't a Kiriko should be nerf post because she's honestly fine, in my opinion. I'm just wondering if she'll be a mainstay for the meta. In my opinion, I think this was actually 28 days ago before her last recent nerf. The Blizzard developers have put out an article saying Kiriko actually has one of the lowest win rates across all the ranks, I believe, at 45%. I'm a believer that it's probably because the output of her general playstyle is not fully utilized, or excuse me, the skill ceiling isn't fully capped out for a lot of players, which kind of brings down the win rate. She's a hard hero to master. At the highest level, she's played all the time because Suzu and Kitsune Rush being one of the best ultimates in the game is such a game-changing element that she will always be meta up there, but I honestly don't even think Kiriko's that meta for most of the average metal ranks. I hear a lot of players saying that Mercy and Moira are probably the two most, and Ana are the 2 or 3 most common supports being played at those levels, and even Brig and Zen generate a lot of value for a lot of people. I wouldn't worry so much at this point. They're probably going to nerf Kiriko a little bit more and give her power in another way to help the metal ranks, but at least lower her team fight winning potential with Kitsune Rush at the highest level. So I would predict a nerf in either Suzu or the Kitsune Rush soon, and we have a new support coming out in April, and I think even the next hero is supposed to be a support, so when that happens, that might shake up the support meta. But I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the support duos are very viable right now. People are running Brig Zen, I see a lot of Mercy Zen, I see some Ana Brig, some Zen Brig, I think I repeated the same one. I see Bap Zen, I'm playing a lot more Baptiste lately. Kiriko's great right now, but she's actually not as core as people believe her to be at this point in ranked play. Ranked competitive play. Overwatch League, I still think Kiriko is probably going to be the top mainstay choice, but that's a different discussion for another day, but that doesn't apply to you guys. Just play, at the end of the day, play what you want. What do I do as Rein when Ramattra does his punchy boy transformation? Generally speaking, when Ramattra transforms into Nemesis, he's plays very well into Reinhardt, because Reinhardt, if he holds up the shield, he's just going to take the punches because the Ramattra punches go right through it. So I think as a Reinhardt, you just have to counter swing, use natural cover, swing back at him, or else you're just gonna hold and, like, you know, absolutely take just damage for free. If you're getting pocketed, it might be okay, but you have to be careful. There's a lot of nuance to this question, because just because he transforms doesn't mean you always have to respond with a swing. I say swing because it is a good answer to it, so at least you can match some damage back and put some pressure back on the Ramattra and not let him run all over you. But at the same time, if they have an enemy Ana and she's waiting to sleep you or anti-you the moment you start swinging, that's also a risk. So there's a lot of assessment you have to make before you decide to swing back at the Ramattra. At the end of the day, Ramattra is a transform state kind of hero where he's stronger in that form, similar to Bastion, where when Bastion transforms into Sentry form, you wait and then you capitalize him when he's out of it. So same thing with Ramattra, he's so much weaker in his Omnic form, he has to play a lot more safe. When he puts up his little shield and he uses his staff, he has an 8-second window where you can't go back into Nemesis, and that's where you want to capitalize. Throw some fire strikes, swing at him, and take advantage of his slower tempo when he's in that form. That being said, when he's also in his punchy boy transformation, you can also pin him back a little bit. Maybe some short pins in the wall for some burst damage will help. Hopefully your team is shooting at the Ramattra. Whenever Ramattra blocks, that's also an easy time to go for a pin as well. And remember, when he's in the transformed punchy boy transformation, your words not mine, he can't put up that shield, which means it is a free Earth Shatter. There's no counterplay from the tank in order to stop that from the tank's perspective. Obviously, if you get slept by the enemy or you canceled by another ability, that's external factors. But in terms of Ramattra, it's a shatter every time he's in the Nemesis form, so remember that. Is heal botting inevitable at the lower ranks? I'm a silver 4 support, and in my games, I feel like it's expected for supports to just heal bot, while DPS and tanks stand out in the open and just absorb damage as much as possible without worrying about positioning. If I try to add damage in between healing or target a low health DPS or support while staying with their team, I look back a few seconds later to a graveyard of my teammates who decided to just stand in Orisa and Bastion fire and hope for the best. I'm trying to focus on line of sight, coverage, and tips, and I found to climb the ranks as a support, but at the end, it seems like at the end of the day, I'm stuck heal botting my team. Is this something that just gets better at high ranks, or should I keep working on my fundamentals and see if it's just me? Okay, I think the context was quite helpful. So heal botting may be sort of inevitable for certain heroes where your APM or actions per minute are not as refined, or your mechanics are not as refined as some heroes. Some examples would be Kiriko or Baptiste, where you are actually able to do your normal healing output while weaving in DPS at no cost of speed. That's a mechanical skill thing you have to pick up, where for Baptiste, you can heal, shoot the enemy, heal, shoot the enemy at no cost versus just heal, heal, heal. You can heal, shoot, and the tempo of the heal is the exact same. If you do shoot, heal, it's a little bit of a higher DPS tempo with slower healing. Kiriko is the same thing, where you can actually heal all 5 and throw 2 free kunais in between. Heal, kunai, heal, kunai. So I wouldn't even call that a heal botting style, the ones I just described. That's actually how you're supposed to optimally play those 2 supports specifically. So that's just something to remember. Heal botting, by your definition, it feels like what you're trying to say is that whenever you look away, they die. But you also have to remember, if you choose to look at the enemies, where's that part? If I try to add in damage in between healing. Okay, so the damage that you add in between also has to be quite meaningful. If you think you can actually convert a kill as a DPS, let's say you're an Ana, that's a different example. You're healing, but you see a 60 HP Genji jumping up in the air. It is actually better to just stop healing that one person and kill that Genji really quick. If you convert a kill, that means there's less damage coming in from the enemies, which as a byproduct means you have less healing to do, which is why I make the joke where Widowmaker is the best healer. There's nothing to heal when you already kill the entire enemy team. That's why it's important to weave in damage as a support at the same time and just like help your team out and contribute a little bit of damage to help your DPSs and your tanks convert certain kills so that the pressure to pocket and heal your team is actually less. That's why it's very important to push in that DPS. Everything adds up. That's a takeaway point. Now, the timing of when to do it is a bit of a skill thing as well, something you'll pick up over time. It is something you should certainly be working on. Focus on your line of sight. That's good. Coverage, that's also important. This is something that doesn't get easier as you gets higher because you have to like make sure you find those small windows where it's optimal to, and the only way to learn is you have to read the ebb and flow of the fight, where you'll learn pretty quickly as you get better at the game, where if my Reinhardt's at 300 HP but his shield is up and there's no damage threats, I could top him off, but your priority might change where like there's that Pharah Mercy flying. It's actually better to shoot the Pharah and the Mercy maybe once or twice as the Ana and then go back to the Reinhardt because he's safe out of line of sight. There's a lot of moving factors in the game and there's a lot of nuance to this question, but I think what you're doing is good, and don't worry so much about looking back a few seconds later to the graveyard. You have to assess it. Would pocketing your teammate right there who's standing in the open, would that have generated more value than you pressuring that person and converting a kill? Was the person your teammate shooting at, like, could they have used was your DPS better suited to shoot the same target as them, convert that kill so that they don't have to take as much damage, so you don't have to heal them as much in the first place? Or was it better to pocket them and trust them to convert the kill? Those are all factors you have to think of. There's no easy answer to this, but you're on the right track with this, I would say, where you're working on these 3 points. That's totally good. Why is Genji so popular in the lower ranks? That's an easy question. He's just fun. No matter what state Genji in, he's always going to be played. He's a cyborg ninja. There's honestly no better way to put it. High mobility is always fun for a lot of players. He's a cool lore. He's throwing shurikens. He has a big dragon blade sword and dragons. He's just a fun character, and fun characters will always get played no matter what, especially in the lower ranks. Is there a way to make scoped characters feel the same as non-scoped? So yes, there's actually a few sensitivities from a calculator you can use mathematically that will kind of feel the same in terms of like the distance you swipe, where if I move my mouse like 10 centimeters this way, my game will move a certain amount of distance. And then if I'm scoped in and I move 10 centimeters, the scope distance will move the same as unscoped. There's a calculator for it. I believe off the top of my head, it's 38 scope sensitivity for Ana and Widowmaker, and for Ashe it's like 51.4. But that's assuming 1920 by 1080 or 16:9 resolution. Doesn't matter if you're 2560 or 1440 or 4K. It's the same 16:9 ratio and an FOV of 103. You can actually Google a calculator for scope sensitivity, and that'll probably help you out if you want it to feel the same. But at the end of the day, it's personal preference. I know people who play with much different scope senses because they don't actually want to have as major movements. They want a slower sensitivity for it. So how to carry as a support? Similar to the question before, it's actually like surviving, number one. If you're dead, your team has no heals and like no extra damage or utilities from your grenades, your anti-nades, your immortality fields, your Suzu, your reses. No matter what support you play, you offer something to your team, and preventing your death is the number 1 priority. And the problem, or not a problem with supports, is that you are a high target priority for the enemy team. So your survival is one of the most important things. If a teammate is putting themselves in a risky position to die, in a lot of cases, you have to assess whether you have a high chance of keeping them alive, but it doesn't sacrifice your life at the same time. So for me, my advice for a lot of supports is, where can you position to do your job while staying safe? Can you cut off sightlines from one angle while still being able to see the person you're healing or contributing to the fight with? And then you'll carry as a support by simply living. You'd be surprised at how much value you offer to your team. It might not feel like a lot, but because you don't die as much, you generate more value for your team, because simply due to uptime. The second way to carry as a support is to be proactive with a couple of your ultimates, like Nano Boost, Kitsune Rush, Coalescence from Moira, Baptiste Window. Don't hold these ultimates till Overwatch 3. I would always say use it rather than hold on to it. You'll also create a data point in your head where you can remember, like, oh, this was a good time to use it. It's good value, and you can win team fights off of them. So good ultimate usage, less being defensive, and don't be scared to use it. The hesitation is actually going to kill you more often than just using it. I actually prefer a lot of players to over ult than don't ult at all. Why am I battling masters and diamonds in ranked? So there's a bit of a matchmaking article they released a few days ago where they said they had the parameters up at 12 divisions in between a person's MMR. They lowered it to 9 to battle queue times. There's a full video that I talked about regarding this issue. Does Ashe counter Widow, or is it the other way around? It depends on the distance. Widowmaker on like Junkertown or like Ilios Ruins or Havana, who are like really far outside of Ashe's fall off range, will counter the Ashe. Not a hard counter, but like Ashe has a disadvantage in that capacity at those ranges. But honestly, anywhere between like close to medium range, Ashe might win, especially with the Mercy Pocket. A Mercy Pocketed Ashe headshot will one-shot the Widow now because she's at 175 HP due to the Season 3 nerf. So it really just depends on distance for this one more than anything. It depends on the distance and it depends on the map phases. Is it a bad idea to play too many heroes? Should I just invest in 1 or 2 per role? I would never say it's a bad idea to play too many heroes because you're still learning something. There's always something to learn about a hero. Each playstyle is a little different. Each role kind of plays the same, but an individual hero has a separate set of skills that you can master, and in turn will only help you because when you face up against enemies who play those same heroes, you know a bit of the nuance and tricks up their sleeve because you also play those heroes. So I don't think it's a bad idea, but it's also good advice to also invest more time into 1 or 2 per role, as to not overwhelm yourself, because there's a lot to master in a single hero. There's people who one trick a hero and they still learn new things every day. If you, at the end of the day, if you're having fun, play more heroes. But if you really want to get good, you can invest in 1 or 2 and you can't go wrong. Honestly, having 2 per role is already more than what a lot of people can confidently say. I'll tell you that much. Like I said, there's people who one trick a single hero in a single role. So the fact that you can know 2 per role, that's 6 heroes. That's more than a lot of people, okay? Does Sigma Barrier neutralize D.Va ult? Yes. Okay, so these are a couple of top questions. We've let the video run for a little bit, and now what I'm gonna do is actually filter by the newest ones as of even today, February, I think we're February 26th, 27th today. Pretty much the end of the month. I'll rapid fire, read the title of it, and rapid fire some questions. How do I get better at Overwatch 2? You subscribe to KarQ and you come to twitch.tv/KarQ. What to do when healers doesn't have game sense / refuses to heal? The whole refuses to heal idea is just copium. Obviously, they are trying to heal and contribute to the fight as a support, and this is just like blaming the supports. There's a lot of ways to counteract it. If you really feel like if you have a problem blaming supports all the time, just play self-sufficient heroes and close your eyes and just play the game. Play Roadhog, play Soldier, play Tracer. People who can do it themselves. Actually, that's one of the reasons why a lot of Smurfs or alternate Smurfs will play those 3 heroes specifically. Sometimes Widowmaker, because Widow is so far away that she won't take as much damage, and you just carry the game without having to worry about anybody else. Good support to climb out of Silver. All of them are viable, but if you're in Silver, I've always said Moira is like great value because you can't mess it up because of the low skill floor. That being said, Moira becomes less and less popular at the highest levels, but you can still play Moira. There's a couple of Moiras who made top 10 last season as well. Moira might be the easiest. You can check out one of my tier lists where I made a list of heroes that have a low skill floor, so they're easier to pick up. And the easier to pick up heroes in support might be a little better for you. So Mercy, Moira, and even Brig after the buffs is super easy. As long as the aura's ticking, as long as you hit something and you just throw health packs, you're just getting so much baseline value. How do I use Orissa's ult effectively? You can cycle all your cooldowns, especially Fortify first, because when you use your ultimate, you get a free Fortify with an extra overhealth. So as long as you cycle all your cooldowns and run into them to close, because you get a lot of movement speed from your javelin spin and all that stuff. When you cycle all your cooldowns, you're gonna bait the enemy to use a bunch of their cooldowns, get them a little low, and then as they try to escape, because you're like running into them, a lot of them will panic and back up. Then you suck them back in with the ultimate. That's one of the best ways to use it. Ashe and Reaper main looking to expand your pool. If you're an Ashe main, play Cassidy. If you're a Reaper main, you can play Roadhog, you play D.Va. Any shotgun-based hero seems to be your forte, so you can go with those. What I do against Bastion plus Mercy as a ball, you have to wait for Bastion to finish his Sentry form transformation. That is where he's gonna melt you. When he's in his normal recon form, he's a lot weaker, and that's how you have to time your engages. There's a whole skill in Overwatch called timing, and timing when to pile drive and engage the enemy team and disengage is a huge Overwatch skill to have. So you have an 8-second window where you slam, do your rotations, pop your adaptive shield, hopefully your team can convert some kills, time it with them, and if Bastion and Mercy survive that entire engagement, that's when you go to ball form, roll out, find a health pack, wait till it's over, then come back in. That's actually how you play ball. How to be a better support? weave in a little bit of damage with healing depending on the hero. And when I say weave in damage, I mean don't just like sit there and as Baptiste and stare at the ground and just shoot the floor the whole time. You have a gun that can do damage. Don't be afraid to do it in that way. Do you really need comms? If yes, what's the best way to use it? Verbal comms are going to always be preferred. It's easier to convey information in that way. That being said, I understand why people are uncomfortable. They might have anxiety. They don't want to speak. It's late at night. A lot of external factors. The ping system is a godsend. The best way to use them when you use verbal comms is to cut all the in-between fluff and just relay important information. Tracer 1, Tracer at this look at the mini. They're behind main. 3 main, Pharah mercying this guy. Pharah has ult. Quick words and a lot of slang and shortcuts are going to be best for verbal communication. If not, use your ping system. It's a godsend that came in Overwatch 2. Use it. Zenyatta help/tips. The ABCs of Zenyatta. Play near a piece of cover, A, or near a health pack. B, make sure a Discord orb is on somebody. And C, make sure a healing orb is on somebody. As long as you're near cover, have orbs on either both an enemy and a teammate, you're already getting like 70% of your job done. Now your next job is to just ding, 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 ding. Some danger, use that piece of cover from step A. And then whenever you duck into cover, you can charge your secondary fires before you re-peek because you have a chance to get the burst damage. But if you're already out in the open, there's enemies in your sight line, just fire the DPS like this because it's fast, it's higher DPS. But there's a chance for burst whenever you have to duck into cover, whenever you have to reload, duck into cover, charge a couple of orbs, and you might get a pick. What is the meta? The meta, there really isn't one right now. There's a lot of heroes that are viable. At the highest top 500 levels, that's probably the only time you have to really worry too much about the meta. And even so, like in ranked solo queue, people need to worry about themselves, like in their individual mistakes. You guys are not on the big stage where like the meta truly matters so much. But generally speaking, right now at the highest levels, it's a lot of ball in North America. Ramattra's great, Sigma's great. I would say like Rein isn't even as that popular because he does require speed at the highest levels to like fully cap out his strength, although there's some Rein 1 tricks that work. But ball is super popular. D.Va is actually rising in popularity right now as well because it helps shotgun down the ball. It's okay against Sigma, all that stuff. And the Zarya is not being played, which is one of D.Va's tougher matchups. How to counter a Reaper that teleports on top of you. Sleep dart, time it. Every time he TPs, he has like a small window and a fixed animation before he lands. If you can just sit in a custom game, there's a couple of training bots or training modes in Workshop that will just like have a Reaper just consistently teleport. And you can, as an Ana, you can practice getting that timing down. I think it's a 2-second or 3-second teleport. As soon as you see the secondary landing location of the teleport, it's always the same time. You can never do it earlier or later. So you can memorize that time, so you can time abilities like Sleep Dart or like an Orisa Spear or something to at least pressure them to stun them or CC them. And if you're a little late and Reaper sees it when he lands, like he might Wraith out immediately to dodge it, which means you baited out both the Shadow Step and the Wraith form, then you can capitalize on them. Okay, and those are all the questions for February. Let me know if you have any more in the comments. Thank you for watching. See you next month on this series.